Greetings, everyone. Tommy Hawksblood here, calling from the big island of Hawaii. I got a special guest on tonight, and you know me, I don't bring too many people on my show, but this is one person that I feel really good about and I trust and a friend with. So I'll let him say hello. Greetings, Jeffrey. How are you?
Hi, Tommy. I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on your show again. It's just great to be here.
Hold on one second here. Uh, I got a lot of questions, but I think first, how about we just let you introduce yourself a little? Just tell who you are, where you are, and things like that for now, and then we'll get into it.
Well, my name is Jeffrey Seelman, and I am a professional psychic, exorcist, published author, clearing expert, and I've been helping people since 1992 deal with negative energy in their homes, in their businesses, also in their body's energy fields, teaching people how to clear it, clearing it through my own techniques, whether through distance work or in person. Of course, I started out in essentially 1990 or so, and they didn't have the internet back then, so I was doing only in-person work, clearing people's businesses and homes and their person at different wellness centers in Wisconsin. I live in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the city. And I've moved around a little bit. I used to live in Las Vegas as well and other places, but now I'm back in Milwaukee. And even though it's kind of cold at the moment, and I have made a career out of helping people. I was born with psychic ability, and I felt and saw spirits around me. I had some alien visitations when I was a kid. I was quite awake for those, and no abductions of any kind. It was all very peaceful, and so my job is to help people who have problems with emotional energy from past tenants in their homes or their apartments or condos or whatever, and also in their body's energy fields. And so I'm quite busy with that and doing this a long time. That's all I do. It's not something I do at night. It's something I do all the time. My background's in technology. I was in the United States Air Force, and but I also combined technology in a way which a lot of psychics don't. Some do and some don't, but I've always embraced technology since I was a little kid. And I'm 63 years old right now, to give you an idea. When I say little kid, some people say, well, you might look younger or something, but I am 63. And I've been doing this a long time, helping people and teaching as well. A lot of teaching how to protect oneself from other people's negative vibrations, and how to maintain the clarity of a person's living environment, what people can do to keep their own living environments clear. And I've done a lot of radio and television in the last 30 years or so, and just finished my third book, which just came out a couple of weeks ago, called Moving Energy. And that'll be out formally on the 1st of February, but it's available on my website. I'm, just finished it up and taking a break, but I'm working on clients every day as usual.
The first question. So, when you first met with aliens, how old were you? Do you know exactly what age you were or around?
It's a good question. I was 4 years old. I was my parents were living in a suburb of Milwaukee. I was just a little guy. One night I must have heard something, and I woke up in the middle of the night. And, of course, now I'm 4 years old. I'm a short guy. And at the foot of my bed, I see two large lights. And at that time, I thought, well, what is this? I actually sat up in my bed. It scared me so bad. And I thought, well, it's some kind of giant spider or something. I have, imagination of a 4-year-old. It's first thing I thought. Now the door was cracked open, so there was some light going on, but I had been sleeping and it was still dark. As my vision cleared, I saw that it was not like two eyes looking at me, that were close together. Actually, it was two small beings wearing identical clothing, and each one of these beings had some kind of electronic device that they were wearing on their chest in some way. I don't know if it was hanging off of some kind of chain or something, or somehow attached to their clothing, or I would say uniforms more, because they were wearing identical clothing. And so I immediately recognized technology that we didn't have back then. It looked very much like these lights, these round lights that you now can buy anywhere and stick on a wall, and you touch them or whatever, and they turn on when you're trying to go down the stairs. They didn't have those back in 1963. And so I didn't know what they were. And when I thought that, Tommy, one of the had to be aliens, because for one thing, they had these rough hewn faces. They had very thin mouths. They really did kind of classically look like what somebody might think an alien would look like back then. They didn't have, like tentacles coming out of them that I could see or anything like that. But one of them actually moved over to the side of the bed near me. That should have frightened me more. But in my mind, I really thought that somehow they might have guessed that I was really frightened. And then instead of actually saying that or thinking that they were some kind of spider with giant eyes or something, because they had that kind of stuff in cartoons at the time, that actually they were trying to comfort me by letting me know that they were simply two beings, and what these lights were actually some kind of electronic or some powered device on their chest. It was not shining in my face, or I would not be able to see them. They were self-illuminating, which they didn't have those kind of things back then either, to my knowledge. And so that they didn't say anything to me. And that went on for a little while. I was just petrified. I was sitting up in my bed and I was looking at the one alien. I'd say they were about maybe 4 feet tall, about as tall as I was. Not tall at all and not super short, but kind of medium. And I finally got up enough nerve to go running out and essentially crying for my mother. And her bedroom and my father's bedroom was down the hall. And so I said, "Mom, there are aliens in my bedroom." and I had so many strange things happen to me back then, Tommy, that she really believed me, and she should have. I mean, she knew I wouldn't lie about something like that, that she saw the terror on my face. And so she comes running back into my bedroom with me, and they were gone. The interesting thing was that in order to pass my mother's and father's bedroom, they would have to go by the hallway where the bedroom door was, and I had opened it. I did not close the door. I don't think anything went past us. And so somehow they got out of my bedroom, and there was no other exit going down that hallway. It was a smaller house, and they would simply have to go past my mother and father's bedroom in order to get out. So I assumed as the years rolled by that they probably somehow, these might have been some kind of, possibly a teleportation device or something, and maybe more. Who knows what these devices were? They didn't tell me, but I always figured that somehow they were able to get in and out of there without being seen at the very least. How, I don't know. And so that was my first episode with aliens.
But you never, they never said, well, we're a certain race or nothing like that to you, did they?
No, they didn't speak to me at all. And it really, I thought about it later on. Now, I have had communication with aliens since, all about my work. But I think that when I look back on it, real seriously, I believe that they wanted me to see them, that there was no message there besides, hey, we're here,
Yeah.
and maybe we've been working on you or with you while you were sleeping. I really think that if they didn't want me to wake up, they probably could have done something, or disappear or whatever, or somehow, as some people have reported who have been abducted, that, which I was not, that they were not threatening in any way, and I felt no threatening vibrations from them, that they wanted me to know that they were there at that time in my life, because much later on, essentially 10 years after I got out of the Air Force, when I started working professionally to help people, that that I would think back on it and say, wow, this kind of was something that happened from the very beginning, that they probably were there before and I just didn't know it. And things that have happened to me since that were far more profound than that when I was an adult. I mean, the stuff even in the last 10, 20 years would lead me to believe that that they were, just letting me know that they were interested in me for some reason,
They're watching you.
watching me, and maybe more, that I had a lot of psychic ability going on, and could really sense. I saw spirits in my classrooms when I was a child. They were not filled with spirits. I mean, one or two or something, doing different things with different children. This was when I was very young. And also, my mother would tell me stories when I was an adult of when I was really, really young, that I would tell her things like, well, grandma's going to call at 8:20 tomorrow morning. And lo and behold, that my grandmother would call at 8:20 and not 8:21 or 8:22, but exact time that I said, which she found to be very handy. So this wasn't a frightening thing for my mother. My father was a little more concerned about it, and all of that. But it was just something that was very natural to me. It made me uncomfortable in the classroom because I saw two different kinds of spirits. I saw some that seemed to be kind of over the shoulder or very close to some of my classmates, and almost looked like they were trying to help them with their studies or homework. Like they were like trying to transmit some kind of information when they were doing like a mathematical problem. A lot of that was going on in paper when I was growing up, division and all that. And then I also ran into spirits that looked like they were there to scare people, because they weren't, like hovering over somebody and paying attention to what they were doing on their desk, but actually kind of walking around the classroom, and people would sort of pay attention a little bit, but not know what it was, almost like a cold or negative feeling. And yet I would be looking at them from my desk, and then they would see me looking at them, and then they would come at me, and not at a normal speed of a human being, like walking towards me type of thing, but kind of like coming at me really quickly. And sometimes that would actually get me to get up and run out of the classroom, which was very disturbing to my classmates and the teachers as well. And it caused me problems in school, that I reported it all to my teachers and my parents. Evidently, they were not seeing the same things that I was. So,
Well, before I ask you any questions, there's a question in the chat room from John Snow, and he said, "Where do you see things going from here on a professional viewpoint? Do you see it calming down?" I'll let you answer it first.
well, they've never calmed down for me, John. Good question, and I don't think that it's going to calm down for the human race. There's been more and more sightings of UFOs than ever before. Our own Pentagon has admitted that in the United States here. And I do think that they're here. And I think they have their own reasons for being here. Some we may understand and some that we may not. But I do think that at some point that they'll make themselves known. to the general population. That would be my guess. I don't have an in with the aliens to the point where they're going to say, Jeffrey, we're going to show up at Trafalgar Square in London, or Red Square in Moscow, or Central Park in New York. I've never received any of that kind of information, but most of my communications now are on an astral level, meaning a non-physical level, with aliens, and their communications with me, which are not all the time, but are more about how to conduct my work better, how to be more efficient at helping people. And so I guess my perspective is a little jaded, because besides working for some other people that ran into negative aliens, and I do believe they were negative, because I don't think all aliens are necessarily good, but I think a lot of them are. And I've been fortunate that the ones that seem to be attracted to me are very positive and simply want to help the human race. Now, also, I have been dealing a lot with spirits, which are essentially people who are not physical anymore. And they also do their share of teaching me different things to teach people. And so part of it comes from my own concepts and ideas. And sometimes I get these teaching sessions that are not set up. They're not something that happens, at a certain time. It's just kind of random. But I do have learned a lot from spirits, and a lot of things have happened to me that are in my books in long form. But I'd be happy to share, that are very far more intense than a couple aliens for a few minutes in my bedroom. That was the simple stuff. But other things that have happened to me since, especially since I started my work, have been really, really interesting, and are worth putting in my books. And I did that so that I would have a record, because people only live for so long. I think that people live forever as a spirit, but on this earth for so long. I wanted to create a record of my life, and also my books tend to be workbooks, so that they help other people with problems with emotional energy generated by other people, and even negative spirits, which I think also are around as well. Just because we have, most people are good and some are not, and most spirits are good and some are not, and I deal with the ones that are not good. I might work with spirits that are good, but the people that call me for help usually are in some kind of trouble, in some kind of distress, and feel that the things that are happening around them or in their home or business are not good. And if there are spirits involved, that they're not positive spirits, and that very often is the case.
How often does like a family member call you, like, well, my daughter or my son or my brother is going through this and he really needs help? Do parents and family usually get involved with calling you first, or does it always have to be the person that's possibly possessed?
Another good question. If a person is completely possessed, I'm the last person that they're going to call, because I can actually do something about it.
Right.
And because I can see spirits, and I know the scientific procedure for banishing spirits, which is not ritualistic so much in nature, but actually using energy against energy on a non-physical level. So a possessed person is more likely to do something harmful to themselves, or do something negative to somebody else, or just kind of slowly go down the tubes, the psychological tubes, so to speak. And so it usually is a family member, a friend, somebody who's concerned that a person might be possessed. That's not always the case, though. very often a person, we accumulate and we generate emotional energy. We all do from the very first day that we're born. That accumulates in our body's energy fields. It builds up in our body's energy fields. And that can cause problems and blockages. And that can also make us feel negative. One of the things that I do is I teach people and also clear people so that that goes away. And that is done through remote work, pictures and Zoom or Skype. It's not necessary to be in the same room. Actually, it's more beneficial where I can work on people for a longer period of time. But rarely do people, now I get people who call me up and say they're possessed, and that is a pretty good clue to me that they're not fully possessed.
Right.
And so what it might mean, though, is that something could be attacking them, and there's a communication, like a telepathic communication or emotional communication going on, that so they are being attacked possibly, but the spirit is not necessarily inside of their body's energy fields. And so the most common form of possession is what I call temporary possession. And that is when a person gets out of control angry, or they're intoxicated to the point of a blackout and they step out of themselves because they're so intoxicated, they're blacked out and something else steps in. Also with an overuse of drugs. And I say here an overuse, that all drugs are not bad. What I'm saying is that when somebody does something too much, they lose control and then they black out and something can step in. That's not the case in every scenario. It just is the case in a percentage of scenarios where people are like, I don't believe I did that. The next morning, I don't believe I hit my wife or did something worse. Now, I'm not making excuses for criminals. And like I said, this is only a percentage of some of the things that happen out there. But I do believe that people who have passed on and no longer have physical bodies are not required to go anyplace. And most people do. They, essentially gravitate towards other spirits, to what people might call heaven, which is a really wonderful name for the other side, and good places where spirits congregate and they live together and do all these wonderful things, or live apart, whatever you want to do. But also there are malcontents, and I refer to them usually as criminal spirits. Just like we have criminal people here in the physical, there also are spirits that don't want to face themselves, because when we pass on, we tend to have the physical not a blockage anymore to perception. And so we can see ourselves for what we truly are, and how other people think about us. And that doesn't always work out real well for other people. Some people it does. I would say most people are grateful and happy about that. And they move on to the other side and they're really great. Anyways, when a person dies, they're on the other side anyways. And part of us is already on the other side as well, meaning that we have this duality going on. We have our physical body for a while, and we have our spirit, which I believe is completely indestructible, and nothing can destroy our personality or our spirit. But some people are just, they're afraid to look at themselves for a lot of reasons. And they are the ones that are most likely to continue to gravitate towards the physical world close to us, and may continue to do negative things. Say they were doing negative things in their life. Some people may choose to do negative things after they're dead, now that they're no longer visible to the naked eye, to us on a physical level with our physical eyes, that they're continuing to do disrupt people's lives, and commit mayhem and try to get people to do negative things. And it's not that hard, because telepathy is not some kind of magic or something like that. It's simply like a communication system. And so if a spirit comes close to us and tries to communicate with us, that all they really have to do is send out thoughts and emotions, and that can uh, uh, get into our energy fields and into our minds. And sometimes we filter the stuff out and say, okay, whatever, we just think it's our own thoughts. But sometimes we're also getting a lot of outside chatter from other people and also spirits, some of it very good and some of it not so good. And so if a spirit is trying to affect another person, that they would target that person by sending out emotional feelings towards that person, and that would activate sort of a lightning rod effect inside of us, and possibly get us to feel bad about ourselves, or even the goal of a negative spirit might be to get us to do something negative to someone else.
Well, the questions are coming in. Let me get to a few more questions first. The one Jeff asked, he says, "Did you ever get to a point where you really didn't know what to do? Kind of stuck?"
Certainly, Jeff. It does happen. Very often I have to wing it. No clearings are the same. And I do these things every day. Very seldom does a day go by without me working. And I don't always have a plan. Now, one thing that I'm fortunate about is I seem to have always gotten warnings from somewhere about the severity of the problem I am facing, meaning that if somebody calls me and there's an issue and I'm working with them on Zoom or Skype or through some media, I work through telephone and pictures as well, and I'm working to clear their body's energy fields. There's no such thing as distance on the other side, so it doesn't matter where people are, and I can help them wherever they may be. But the idea is that it's never the same. No clearing is the same, and I have no ritualistic formula for clearing out a body's energy field. So I do things differently. So if I'm just clearing a person who has a negative energy problem, a lot of professional people call me who just are feeling negative over our world today, and also things that are happening at work. We've had pandemics going on and such, that I do about 35 different procedures in 45 minutes. I'll spend 15 minutes or so talking to a person in an hour-long session to get to know them, but also to focus in temporarily on their body's energy fields. And then I'll have them sit outside of the video, because I work with my eyes closed, because I'm using my third eye essentially. This is all telepathic. Doesn't mean it's not real. It just means that it's not physical. And so I'm not always, I don't always have a big plan. I kind of, first I have to find out what the problem is. Very often it's the first time I've met this person. It could be from anywhere in the world, and I see them on, like, say, the video. I talk with them, and I might have an idea of what they say during an email to me, or a call to me, or a Skype or Zoom or something. And but I'm not exactly sure what to do until I do it. I have found that this is actually a better way to accomplish what I need to accomplish, because every person is different and every problem is different as well. And it's important that I help the person. And very often I'm working for entire families that feel there's something going on in their home, or they just want their home cleared, and their children cleared. I work with a lot of children as well, dogs and cats, and any living being that's in the home, and also the property itself. And so I'm looking at it for the very first time. And because every home is different, every living environment is different, and every person is different, I handle things a little bit differently each time.
Well, I don't know if you wanted the other question was, do you notice an age preferred for being possessed? Like what age are they usually calling you from, or the people calling you? Are they
Age?
younger or older?
No, not really. I would say that young children probably are the least likely to suffer from possession, although negative spirits could be trying to affect young children. They have no problem, whether they be just negative spirits, meaning people who are dead and no longer have a physical body, but they're very much alive in the other side of things, or demonic spirits, which are a far more powerful kind of being. They do attack children, but there's less possession going on, I found, over the last 30 some years with younger children, and more, when it comes to younger children, more of a attack from a distance or from the outside. When it comes to teenagers, those percentages go up a little bit, 13, 14 and up through the teenage years. If a person is really angry, teenagers are wonderful, but certainly it's a rough time, and there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of changes in the body. And so spirits that may take an interest in a family or a teenager to try to get them to feel bad about themselves and to maybe act upon that can make a very good target. When you get up into people in the 20s, when they're adults, 20s and 30s and 40s and above, I find that spirits that are negative and also demonic spirits find these people to be a more lucrative target because they can work on them for longer. They're going through less changes. They might be going through changes in their lives, but very often the negative feelings that they have about themselves are not situational, meaning that teenagers, well, they might feel negative about themselves for a week or a year or something like that, and it goes away as they grow older and they become adults. But when adults might have problems and negative feelings about themselves and other people and angers that go on for years and years. And so a negative spirit might try to work on this person for a longer period of time to get a better return, meaning that a person would become self-destructive. A person might become more angry towards other people, less productive. That can have an effect upon the entire family, the workplace, every aspect of a person's life. And so what I'm saying is that if a negative spirit is going to attack a person to do the most damage, then they want to attack a business, they want to attack a family, they want to attack an adult that makes decision and has some power. So that because it's more difficult for a kid to get a weapon and do something crazy on a moment's notice. Things have changed a little bit that way, but it's just generally they work on people because that are older, meaning over 20 years old, 25 years old, because they can have a more effective attack, a more successful attack. They can work on them longer, and people tend to accept their negative feelings for longer, meaning that, well, I've not, as an example, saying, I haven't been feeling well about myself for 4 years, or since I got divorced, or whatever, something like that. And they feel that that's an excuse. And so actually, it's easier to push them. Whereas a teenager might feel angry one moment and say, hey, let's go out for ice cream, the father says, and then it goes away. not always the case, but it very often is. So teenagers are back and forth naturally. I was a teenager and it happened to me, but I would say that negative spirits and other kinds of beings like demonic spirits, which are very different, would attack people in power, would attack people that can affect other people, like say at the workplace, at home with their families, friends, and also when they're people in power themselves, who affect a great many people. If they can reach people that are willing to cause wars and or kill a whole bunch of people, then those are the kind of people that they would go for. And also people that are self-destructive, that are simply thinking about committing suicide, might try to give them an emotional push through a period of time. So some of these spirits work on also multiple people. It's not just one spirit working on one person. That's kind of like a Hollywood movie type of thing. More often than a spirit will work on a person for a while and then go to the next place and work on that person or family or something. And very often, it speaks to motivation. Why would they do that? Well, there's as many reasons as there are spirits. We can't figure out in our own world why some of these lunatics kill all these people or start wars when they don't have to, when it's not necessary. We can't figure all of these people out. And so very often it's ego. Sometimes spirits attack people just to see if they can do it and be effective at doing it. And it's really about, hey, look what I did. I was able to get a person to commit suicide. I was able to get a person to feel bad about themselves, or even more severe stuff, essentially get people to hurt other people, whether it be their significant other or family members or people at work they don't know, or perceived enemies. That is something that they feel proud about, that they're able to accomplish these things by themselves. And so why do they do it? They're criminals. They're really, psychologists write books about why criminals do things. And very often they write multiple books about the same people and they come to different conclusions. The answer is we really don't know. It lies in the malcontented, warped minds of negative spirits. They may feel badly about themselves. They also may be sadistic and want to simply harm other people for those reasons. There's a lot of reasons why spirits attack people.
Funny, the person in the chat room has a question that I was going to ask you anyway. It says, what do you use for your protection when you're doing your exorcisms?
Good question. I use a variety of things. I'm very locked into higher good spirits. I don't belong to any religion per se. I never have. But I also have been very hooked into all religions and the deities that people are connected with and worship with, because I worship to or with. I believe that on the other levels, that all of these spirits are actually friends, these what we call deities. And so the argument is really here down on earth. And so I essentially walk between the religions so that I can work with all of these different higher power sources in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish to help people and also to protect myself. I also have created over the years some very strong protection systems that anybody can do very quickly. You don't have to be psychic to do them, and I teach them, and I have them in my audio lessons, and I teach them over Skype, Zoom, and all the rest of it, and also in my books. And so I use that as well. So I used real energy. Spirits can't do anything that they want to do. that is only in Hollywood movies. And by the way, I like Hollywood movies. I'm not against horror movies or anything like that. Most of them are kind of entertaining, really, and fun to watch, but they're not realistic. And so we need to protect ourselves. And we also, the concept that spirits can do anything they want to do is inaccurate. If that was true, then cars would be flying this way and that way. And that's not common. There are videos of weird things happening occasionally, sure. But I'm saying, generally speaking, they don't tip over cars and blow up houses and all the rest of these kind of things. They have to obey natural science. But that natural science is on a non-physical level and is not a physical thing, which means I have to fight them using energies that are also non-physical in order to stop them and banish them and get them to disconnect from people. So essentially, it helps since I can see them. That really helps. And I can also sense them. I can see the cords that they throw out, kind of like a spider throws out a web. We all do that, by the way, naturally. We all connect. We all have these emotional connections to people that if you could see them, that they kind of look like these laser beams or pneumatic tubes from a drive-through bank that transmit emotional energy and other things. And so I protect myself by using my own techniques that push back on anything negative coming into me or trying to essentially attack me. And also, when necessary, I have no problem asking, you could call it my higher powers, if you like, to help me help other people, because it's not about me. I have said on other radio and television shows in the past that ego is the death of the exorcist. And I really mean that. If a person thinks that there is not stronger spirits out there that are much older than you and I, that are capable of doing damage to us if we're not protected in some way, they're wrong. And that includes me as well, because I've certainly had enough battles with demonic spirits to know that sometimes I need help, and I'm not afraid to ask for that help. And anybody who says that they're more powerful than any demonic spirit out there, I would never work with. I don't really work a lot with people anyway. I prefer to work alone. So because I can't protect other people around me always so well, it's better if I just do these things by myself, and it gets the job done. But it's a great question, because I use a lot of different kinds of techniques, not just one. But all of these techniques are also techniques that I teach the average human being through my books, through my teaching sessions that I've developed with the help of my spirit guides. Who would know better how to deal with spirits than spirits? So essentially, if you're going to deal with a negative spirit, the best teacher would be a positive spirit. How to deal with something and be proactive in our protection, as opposed to, essentially. Now, what I'm getting in here is that religion is fine and has its benefits in many ways, but I don't think it's a great insurance program. I think also that we need to do our own things to protect ourselves, much like the concept that we need to go to the store to get food. We need to get exercise. We have two legs. The saying goes, God gave us two legs, use them. Well, also God gave us and I do believe in God, but the idea is that we also are able to protect ourselves from negative emotional energy that everybody generates. Everybody generates both positive and negative energies. And we need to protect ourselves from our daily work environments people we live with, whether we love them or not, we're all giving off negative and positive energies, and also things that are happening around the world today that are very negative and that can affect us on an emotional level. And so we need to put up these shields. We don't need to think about them 24 hours a day. After I got out of the Air Force, I studied ancient ways to protect oneself and also more modern ways, such as the 1950s, 1960s. And I thought, some of this stuff is pretty good, but it doesn't really work well for people in the 21st century. And then so I started to develop my own techniques that I thought would work better and are able to be brought up immediately in 3 to 5 seconds, as opposed to 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening, which was kind of the old style. We don't have 10 minutes in the morning anymore, Tommy. We barely can have time for a little bit of coffee or tea or whatever you want to drink, and we're off to do something, whether it be work or play or whatever we're doing. We just don't have the time anymore, and I don't see that changing in the near future. And I saw that coming, and so did my spirit guides, and so it was kind of like, Jeffrey, let's develop techniques that people can bring up from the time they get out of their car or get off that bus and walk into a store or a restaurant or the workplace or your home. If you're living with your family, sometimes it's a negative situation. Not everybody is happy. That doesn't mean we're living in a bubble. It's more of a filtering system that I developed that lets positive energy through, but keeps out the negative energy. So we're not in a cocoon. And so we're actually just filtering out negative energy. It's kind of like, as an example, if somebody touches you, and I'll hold my arm up here with a finger, my own finger here, I'm touching my wrist, it feels good. And so I know that that's positive for me. And if somebody else touched me on the wrist whom I liked or something, I'd say, oh, that's positive. Now, if you take a pin, either me or somebody else, and I take a little bit of a pin and I prick myself just a little bit, that's negative to me. So inherently, we know what is positive and negative for ourselves, what feels good and what does not feel good, what thoughts are coming out from anywhere from other people to spirits, and even, let's say, information technology, say the media, television, the internet, all of that. We know when we're being sent negative vibrations. Not always, but we sometimes get pretty good clues that, hey, that's really negative and I need to put up my shields. I teach people how to do that very quickly, and they don't need any kind of talent to be able to do that. I think that this is very natural. If you take a look at somebody like how Archangel Michael in the Catholic religion is portrayed, always portrayed in statues with armament on, meaning a shield and a sword. That's not an accident. That means that even spirits protect themselves against maybe other negative spirits, and also people. Not that they fear people, but the idea that they don't want to get all muddied up necessarily when dealing with people. So if a spirit might come down to teach somebody something, even a good spirit, to try to say, hey, I've got a great business idea for you. That's not what they would say to me to tell somebody else, but they would help somebody they care for. Hey, Karen, hey, Jamie, Cindy, here's how you can get out of this problem. You can bet that they're putting on some kind of shield so that the negativity of the physical world and all of the people who live in it are not going to affect them. So when they leave and they go back to where spirits live and hang out, that they're not going to be affected by that, and that they come out of it relatively relatively unscathed.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to put this in there
Sure.
because he's talking about population. See, people, I do shows on UFOs and spiritualism. The spiritualism I teach, most people don't want to hear, as well as people don't want the truth about aliens. Jeffrey and me don't totally agree on aliens the same way. I've been working with aliens all my life. I stopped my brother from getting abducted at 6 years old. I'm talking about in the physical world. The ship was coming in, demon light on him and ready to take him, and I jumped in front of it. But by 12, I had an alien walking in my house, and my friend and me chased it with bats and stuff. So there's a different level between. But when I was younger, I worked with women that were abducted constantly, losing their children, taken away from them, at 8.5, 9 months pregnant. I saw the proof. I went to the hospital. They showed me the sonogram. She was pregnant yesterday, and she was absolutely not pregnant today. No signs of being pregnant. Impossible. I do a show every Tuesday with a woman, Tina Bird. She's probably going to be the #1 speaker in the UFO world about abduction. But she had an operation. She was abducted most of her life. She went in the hospital. They film every operation in England. And when she had the operation, after it was over, she wanted a copy of it. And they said, we can't give you a copy of it because it's too controversial. She had to go to court. After she went to court, they still told her it was too controversial to release it. A video of what they cut out of her stomach. We know it was an alien. But by the same token is the government will never admit what they're doing. And I'm friends with many people in the high government. The one person I work with is probably one of the highest medicine people. And I'm not just saying that because I want to. I saw proof of things that are incredible that the government can't even do. So again, aliens are good and bad in some ways, but they have their own mission. Help mankind do what? We are spiritual. If we were in touch with that, we wouldn't need anything else. We wouldn't be destroying the planet. We wouldn't be abusing each other. We wouldn't have starving children. We wouldn't have any of that if we were moving forward, which we are not. I mean, I'm not into helping people that don't want to understand God. To me, the only thing that really matters is God, not I work with many deities directly for years. I work with my spirit guides. I work with angels, and I work with demons. I work with Lucifer. I met them all. I worked with them all. And they have their own goals, own missions. Satan controls this planet, not Lucifer. When people say, well, I work with Lucifer. Lucifer's an angel. He's not a fallen, he's a fallen angel because he's in the astral world. He's with old Michael and Gabriel. All those angels are there. But they have their limitations as well. And they can't go into the higher worlds no more. All right. I spent my whole life traveling into the other worlds. There's 5 worlds to get to the highest plane that soul can reach. And there's deities on each realm keeping souls from going there. Aliens can't go past the 3rd world. All right. I stayed on the astral plane for a long period of time. And there you could watch people reincarnate over and over, or their family come back. Okay. Reincarnation is very critical, and people don't even want to realize that they reincarnate. Yes, soul is eternal. But unless you move forward, there's no place for you to go. You can't say, I'm going to go to Africa and travel the jungle and not know a thing about it. You have to know where you're going. You have to learn how to leave your body. You have to learn how to talk to your spirit guides because they'll help you learn what you need to learn. And I'm going to say this, which goes against what most people believe. Nothing you learn on planet Earth helps you in the astral plane. Nothing exists the same way there. You don't have to eat. You don't have to walk. You don't have to do a lot of things. And you stay one age. You can't kill somebody there. It's different. So all the rules you think you're learning here do not help you in another body. And that other question about what do you call it? Two people living inside, 2 souls in one person. I don't think it works that way. I was doing hypnosis and I watched the being step out and the soul stepped in. I had multiple souls trying to jump in that person when I had them hypnotized. Hypnotists do not know much. I'm not talking about Jeffrey. All the people I met the one that claims he's the top hypnotist in the world. He hypnotized like 30,000 people in like 24 years. But again, he knows nothing about spirit. And I said, well, what happens when a soul steps in or somebody tries to get in? What do you do? What's your protection? You have a protection and you have a teaching, which most hypnotists, when they get involved with that, don't have a clue. And I just put it in there before that a lot of priests were hurt and killed because they didn't know what they were doing. If you go in there saying, Jesus Christ, get rid of this being, it doesn't work that way. Aliens don't care about Jesus. Most alien races do not. All right. So there's a lot of things that I don't teach because I'm not in that realm. I teach something different. Jeffrey's teaching you what you need to know to fight off the garbage that's here. But I want to bring you to a different spot. I don't know how much longer we want to do it, but I want to bring you to a point right now. There's about 10 ghost shows on a week. All right, ghost hunters. And I mean, they got the alien hunters and they got all that. But what's happening is they're using high technology and they're filming creatures, entities. They're getting hurt. They're getting thrown around the room. I mean, different things are happening. Uh, First off, they go into a room and they say, come out. You don't make a spirit do something they don't want. That's against the physical laws of this reality. So when you attack a ghost or a spirit, when they're in their own space, it's like invasion. I consider the most spiritual law in this planet is the law of non-interference. You have no right to interfere in anybody else's space unless they invite you in. It's the same way spirits don't come in your house unless you open the door for them. So, I mean, I worked that way, that level. I was doing ghost busting when I was 16, and that was a totally different game. I'm talking about George Washington, Aaron Burr. I mean, people like that. I worked in the Juma Mansion, which was the first house built in New York City. I mean, George Washington had his headquarters there, and a lot of people died there. I mean, there was a lot of spirits. You could see Aaron Burr. He was like sleeping in the bed. You could see the bed going up and down. We had free run of the whole house. We went in there. We stayed there all day. We were allowed to go. I found secret passages in the house and everything. So yeah, the girl that I work with was one of the top mediums rated by New York Psychic Center in '69. All right, and we worked together for about 3 years. And we were supposed to do a movie on Madame Jumel, and her husband stopped her from doing psychic work anymore, and she had to stop it. But we did so many things in the years that we were together. Uh, I mean, there's different things that people want to do. I'm not here to save the world. I don't want to save the world. People have karma, and until they realize they got to pay it off, they're going to deal with it. I mean, all these psychics, and I'm not talking about you, Jeffrey, because I know you. You're a person I trust. These psychics go, oh, I got rid of all your karma. How? Where did it go? This person just killed 5 people. If you're any kind
I
of
don't work in that area. I just want to, you said quite a lot there, Tommy. And what I want to say to that is that we live in a physical universe that is huge, immense, and there's lots of aliens running around doing things for their own reason. And some are good and some are probably not good, just like humans on the planet Earth. And so, I'm not saying that people have not been abducted. What I'm saying is that in my own experience, whether I'm being protected in some way so that I can help other people, I only seem to have positive aliens around me. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I have worked for people that have been attacked by aliens, and I have spoken with these aliens and essentially separated them from the attack, which would be essentially to gather information. Some of this is kind of privileged, meaning that it's something I can't specifically talk about, but there are lots of different kinds of aliens out there. Let's just forget for a moment that there's an issue with how to get from planet X to Earth. That's not the issue, that they can get here when they want without even getting a 5 o'clock shadow, so to speak. So at any given time, there may be anywhere from 25 to 500 different species that might be flying in and out of the planet Earth environment. Some of them maybe not having or wanting anything to do with human beings. Now, this is not really my area of expertise, meaning that I don't get involved in abductions and things like that, although I have done clearings many times, many times on people that said they have been abducted. I have no reason to believe that that wasn't true. How would I know? So I don't think that all aliens are good. I don't think that all people are good. But I also think that that's not really my job. to do these things. My job is to help people with maybe more mundane issues, meaning that they don't feel good, they feel negative, they don't know why. It may not be depression itself, but actually just negative energy that is accumulated in their body's energy fields, uh, negative emotional energy from past tenants in their homes, living environments, condos, wherever, and dealing also with people that have problems with their pets. They feel their pets are picking up emotional energy, and people that are in positions of power, and also people who are in positions of authority and who are working and doing very important things in this world. These are my clients, and they're looking for something a little bit more practical and down to earth, meaning that they just want the problem to go away on a personal level, and that they're not really out to prove anything about whether aliens are here or there or why they're here or whatever. We don't really know why they're here. We can surmise as to why different alien species might be here, but I've always thought, one thing I'll say is this. I was in the Air Force many years ago, and we talked about this a lot when I was in, and I'll say that's all I'll say on that subject. But I think that alien technology is pretty far advanced, and we don't even know how that stuff works and what it's made of. A lot of their spaceships and propulsion systems. If we did, we wouldn't have jets flying around right now. When I was growing up, we were getting onto jet airplanes and flying from Chicago to Los Angeles. Right now, 50 years later, we're getting on a jet aircraft and flying from Chicago to Los Angeles. We're not using alien technology. Now, some little things may be true. There might be some things that we have gathered from crashed craft, to some degree, but I really think that some of their technology is not of Earth origin, and also some of the composition of their propulsion systems and the crafts themselves are not necessarily able to be replicated here on the planet Earth, which might explain some of this. When it comes to the government itself, they're well known to keep secrets about all sorts of things. And one of the reasons that I've always thought that the government may not want to release information that is clearly being withheld from us, I believe, it's pretty much, you talk to any expert, which I am not, but any expert on UFOs that have worked with the government in these things and say, yeah, we got this going on or that going on, that these aliens may not be in contact with our government. And that's something that might frighten our government more than actual communication themselves, meaning that they're ignoring our government, that they're just because they're looking at our nuclear arsenals doesn't mean that they're in contact with NORAD. You know what I mean? Our government also has a lot of ego going on, and they keep a lot of secrets about a lot of things. And anybody studying Kennedy assassination stuff or whatever, or Lincoln assassination stuff, and all that kind of stuff, know that they can keep secrets for a long period of time, and they'll go to great lengths to do it. But I also feel that maybe one of the reasons that this is going on is that the aliens, or a lot of the aliens, and probably most of the aliens, don't want anything to do with our government or governments, and are acting upon their own reasons. And it may be more about our planet and trying to save our planet from destruction, and also save other species from destruction. And also that they may have bases here. As you know, we're located very far out in the Milky Way galaxy. This could be some kind of refueling station or something. Could be some kind of restaurant and hotel kind of thing going on. I know that sounds like a joke, but it's not. We already have lots of underwater restaurants for us human beings. Why would not aliens? One of the things I will say is this about aliens is that we tend to look at spacecraft as something that costs billions of dollars. You know, we've gotten as far as the moon so far, which is not very far. Yes, our craft has gone farther, but not human beings. But let's just say that on a planet or planets that have greater technology, and maybe where they're not using money and wealth and poverty like what we're having right now, maybe that it's easier to get your hands on a spacecraft, meaning that some of these spacecraft may be a gift that a father would give a child after graduating from an alien high school, and maybe like hot rods. We always think that somehow that aliens are on some big mission. That I think sometimes that's true, but I don't always think that's true. I think that it's also a possibility is that some of these are being driven, by our luxury craft, because maybe they don't cost all that much money and can be replicated very easily by machines on some other planet. And it's not some big mission to do something on the planet Earth, but maybe this is some kind of meeting place. And I would imagine they're very, very concerned about what we're doing to our ecosphere, maybe for their own reasons, not to save the human race, but the damage we're doing our own planet right now, and the damage we're doing other species that live on our own planets, and maybe some we don't even know about, and also maybe long-term installations that the aliens have that were here a long time before we ever got here, and that they're not going to let that happen. Are they going to attack us? Doubtful. There's no evidence that they're attacking us, but the idea that besides these abductions that seem to be isolated incidents and maybe being carried out by negative aliens. Yes, sure, negative aliens do exist.
Jeffrey.
But it's also possible that they're here for their own reasons that have nothing to do with human beings.
Jeffrey, I've been in the UFO world hardcore. I was friends with a member from MJ12. They know every single thing that's going on in the UFO world. All right. Putin made a speech 3 months before Trump was elected. He says, we're working with 27 alien races. 2 of them want to destroy the planet. He said he wanted Mr. Trump to come out and tell the world what they're doing with aliens. He also wanted Trump to tell what they did with 9/11. That's one person. Like, getting back to MJ12. All right. If you watch the X-Files, the last movie, the X-File movie, the first one that they put out in the theater, is really close to facts of what certain races, 2 races, are doing on this planet. And it has to do with bees and honey. All right. And MJ12 told me that because I was supposed to get that honey before he was killed. But I can go on about the facts that are hardcore, which the government cannot release, because there's 3 wars in space in the past 25 years with an alien race. Putin has wars with the race in space as well. The good aliens can't interfere. At any spiritual level, they can't kill these aliens, first off. Second off, we're talking about aliens that have a physical body that drive in a ship, not spiritual dimensional beings, because they're different. Obviously, they come from a different energy. But when we talk about aliens in a spaceship, which I have filmed over like 20 different ships, we filmed thousands of pictures of ships in 10 years, which the government has never even released one of them. We put them on TV. I did Carrie Cassidy's show for 9 months. We showed pictures every week, and nobody was interested. We showed a ship stop and shoot ships out, and it was all over the TV. We did Strange Universe on TV, and it's all covered up. But they didn't take it off. They didn't kill me. But 16 of my people that I knew in the UFO world, top UFO speakers, are gone. All right. My best friend worked for NASA. He came over to my house and we showed him pictures of UFOs. His whole family disappeared the next week. All right. I deal with the bad part of, like you might say, the bad. And people always say I deal with the bad. I deal with the truth of what's really going on. Now, you say alien abductions schematic. You can go in Hawaii and ask 20 people. 2 of them will say they were abducted. people that just moved next door to me, both her and her husband were abducted. I can go down to the beach and they'll say they see the ships going into the ocean. We have 2 alien races off the coast. I can go into all that. But see, science is in a different level. They can't even say aliens are real. They can't say UFOs are real.
Well, I don't think that the Majestic 12, which is what you're referring to, they know very much.
What do you mean?
Well, they know as much as they think they know. But
Laura,
the fact is that they don't speak for the aliens. They speak for themselves.
They do. They do. I was supposed to.
Well, that information is not necessarily proven. Majestic 12 is essentially a group of people put together in order to keep secrets for the government. But that doesn't mean that they know aliens.
Well, listen,
that just means that they might know about crashed craft
Jeffrey,
and secrets and all of that.
You want to watch a real alien interrogation? It was done by the government. It's on the internet and it's real. I'm not lying. I don't lie.
Do you really think that the government would allow that kind of information to be released when they won't even show us pictures of the crafts that they have?
It was put online, not by the government. Jeffrey, I know. See, this is a fine line. We agree on a lot of things, but aliens aren't good. They have never did one positive thing to save the Earth. I can go back in all my lives. Atlantis was destroyed by 2 alien races. They programmed man to kill. All right. Now show me what aliens did that were good for the human race. The Egyptians.
Well, for one thing, there's no evidence that we're being attacked by aliens.
Well, I was there. Do you believe?
Well, I'm just talking about, look, is anybody out there listening who's listening to this particular video seeing any giant spacecrafts floating above our city and then shooting giant laser beams down and blowing up our cities? That's not happening. Look, let me finish though. Anybody who can cross the universe or cross through galaxies and from star system to star system could probably take out the Earth from Neptune, much less come down to the Earth and blow up things. I'm not convinced that that's what they're here for.
They don't want to heal people. They eat people, and that's a fact. Pull up Phil Schneider's story, the second most important UFO story in history, because he went into a base with 67 Green Berets and they were all killed. He was shot with a laser beam, got out of there. But they found thousands of skeletons of humans in that base. All right. The facts are there. The government can't say that to the world. They can't say we can't protect you from all these alien races. They had 3 major wars. I saw 2 ships get blown out of the sky 2 years ago in Hawaii. I can tell you what's going on in Hawaii.
It stands to reason that carnivorous alien beings might eat human beings like we eat cows and pigs and chickens and all the rest of it. That can happen. What I'm trying to say is that there's no evidence that the planet itself is under attack by anybody besides our own greed and our own foolishness.
What do all people, all souls that live in a body, what do they need? One thing, only one thing, and that's food. They don't need a castle. They don't need a car. They don't need horses. They don't need anything. They just need to eat. And that's been since the beginning of time. Cavemen just ate. They didn't have thinking about the pyramids were built by Egyptians that didn't know what they were doing. They have no clue about reincarnation. Their hieroglyphics are all wrong. All right. Yes. You can take it out. It's 15 minutes. I got to take a. You want to go over? You can say something, but I'm going to have to slip for 2 seconds.
Well, my point is that once again is that I'm not saying that there aren't negative aliens out there. I have said from the beginning that I believe that there are, and I have met some of these while working for other people. I just can't say why I was working for them because they have special kinds of jobs.
I'll be right back,
But what I'm saying is that I believe there's no evidence that we're under attack, a general attack by different alien races. There's just no evidence of it. I think that it would be very clear if we'd see flying saucers or whatever, we'd see spacecraft and they would be blowing us out of the water. That's not happening. I really feel myself, and I'm speaking here to people who are listening and watching, that if an alien race was really going to take over the Earth, that they would introduce some kind of biological weapon and we would simply all fall down. I mean, we'd die. It might take a week, might take a month. It would be some kind of weapon. And I'm not talking about COVID. I think that's, either that's human made or some kind of animal issue or something like that. I'm talking about something that would simply spread around the world very quickly, and all the humans would drop dead, and then the aliens could come in and clean up and take over the joint. And that is not happening. And so what you're talking about here is speculation. And I'm not really one to like speculate too much on.
Jeffrey, when you say speculation, that means nobody knows nothing. I've been around everybody that in government, top secret. When I had Laura Eisenhower on, she knows nothing about her great grandfather. She doesn't know much of what he created. When he created MJ-12, he had to follow through. Truman created it. Her father, Eisenhower, had to follow through with that. And she knew very little about that. I have friends that were friends with Bernie, and she just came out releasing why aliens are here.
The Majestic 12 it's not a secret. It basically is simply a group of people that are in charge of keeping secrets. The government does not want us to know what they know. That doesn't mean that they're in contact with aliens and they're in some kind of plot or plan with aliens. I think the exact opposite is going on. I don't think the aliens are speaking to the government at all. And I think the government's pretty concerned about that.
Well, no, they're not concerned about it. Why do you think
they are?
Why do you
think they are? Because they got better technology and they're worried about that.
No, we have the technology. We can kill
we don't.
We can kill the reptilians. Don't say we don't.
Well, what proof do you offer? What proof do you offer that we have alien? I'm not saying we don't have alien craft. That's already been established.
Oh, okay. How can you admit that? Did you ever see one? Why do you
not alien craft, but I know people have worked on them. But what I'm saying is this.
Oh, how can you believe
What I'm saying is that the government has people who have worked for the UAP and other government programs have gone on record saying that we have craft, essentially crashed craft or material was the exact words that they used, material. That doesn't mean that we know how to use it.
Look, Fred Bell, if you ever heard the name, he worked with Billy Myers. He was on their ships. He did the work on he worked for the government. He was killed by the government after he did Jesse Ventura's show. He worked on the HARP system. The HARP system is the most deadliest weapon on the planet, created by Tesla. Tesla worked with an alien race. I had his personal notes. He said he worked with 2 alien races. He came up with 200 inventions, 50 of the most deadliest weapons on the planet. They were given to the United States government. So when you say we don't have this, we have technology. Why do you think the government's not doing anything right now? We have the biggest ship on the planet, the biggest submarine on the planet, the biggest airplane on the planet, and they're loaded with the most incredible weapons that nobody knows what's on there.
Well, I think those would probably be toys compared to what the aliens have, because they're able to cross from one planet and star system to another, as opposed to having like sophisticated missiles.
Okay. Do you know anything about
there is such a thing as technology.
Do you know anything about Roswell?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I know what people think might have happened from interviews. I was not there. For one thing, this is not exactly my expertise. But what I'm saying is that the idea being that at least one spacecraft crashed into near Roswell, Mexico. Some people believe that it was actually 2 crafts that actually collided.
3 were shot down.
That they recovered some craft. And I think that probably is true.
I'll give you an Indian secret. When they shot those 3 ships down during Roswell, 3 native elders went with an alien up in the mountain for 9 months. They learned to communicate with him. The ship came down and took the alien away. All right. His grandson wrote a thesis on that and won not a Nobel Prize, but second to the Nobel Prize on that story. The government ran into him and broke every bone in his body. He still was trying to lecture on Planet X. Next week, he was reprogrammed. And I had a fight with him because he threatened me to talk, because he said, you can't talk about aliens and blah, blah, blah. He was threatened, and then he totally lost everything he had going for him in his life. His name's Robert Morningsky. All right. Pull up anything about him. I did a vision quest with him. He took us out to an alien base where the government's cloning grays. I can go into all that, but
Well,
people don't want to hear.
what
People
has
don't want to hear the truth.
Roswell got to do with alien technology?
Because when they shot the 3 ships down, they took 3 ships into the base, not one.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that just because we have alien technology in our
We had to
possession
learn how to fly.
does not mean that
All
we
right,
know
Jeffrey,
how to operate it
do you
or what
remember
it's made
TJ?
of.
Wait. Do you remember TJ Morris?
No.
Well, I did a show with her for 12 years, the past 12 years. Her husband worked for the government. He flew the first UFO for the government. He's dead. He was dying, and on his dying bed, he confessed to all that as well. He said, I really work for the government. I killed 138 people for the government. And he said, I flew the first plane, the first spaceship for the government. And he explained how he flew it and everything else. So there's people that are really close. That was her husband. All right. And he lost his leg, and he had one leg, and he was deteriorating. But he says, I want to give my last talk before he died. And he did. And he confessed that all again. He didn't say, I'm lying, I'm making it all up. He says, I really flew the plane, the first ship for the government. Now, you have to realize which president was involved with that. Eisenhower was, Truman was. All right. Now, like I said, Laura didn't know much about her grandfather. Her mother didn't explain much to her either. I challenged her on the show. We had about 120,000 people listening to us. She wouldn't say one thing against me when she was on my show. She agreed with everything I said. And she goes, I really want to have you on my show, which she didn't, because I realized she's a love and light person, which I am not. And she's talking about love's going to heal the planet, love's going to, all that stuff. I believe Jesus came. He was the most spiritual person who walked this planet, and he was killed because he was that. All right. Not because he was teaching love. You don't kill somebody because they're teaching love. So people didn't know what he was teaching, and it was never put in the Bible. I was there too. All right. I was a female. But see, again,
Tommy, I think you're kind of getting off the track here. You know, this is all across the board here. I don't have any, I've studied Roswell myself, maybe not as much as you, but I also believe that something happened. I think that alien crafts, did crash, maybe one, maybe two, whatever, and that they were recovered by the government. There's a lot of evidence. Huge amount of flights came into an empty Air Force base, whatever, or Army base, whatever it was, Army Air Force at the time. There's a lot of evidence that something happened at Roswell, as well as other places as well. That doesn't have anything to do with why they're here.
Oh, yes, it does. There's 2 reasons why they're here. They need the planet. It's going to become radioactive. Second of all, they need food. All creatures need food, and we are a great food for them. Like I said, now you want one more true story. In Long Island, a ship crashed there. I was out on Long Island. All right, John Ford, he's in the nut house. They went in there. They burned they burned 2 square miles, well, not a square mile, a quarter of a mile for 3 weeks. Black trailers went in and out of there, taking the debris out. He shot a video of the ship crash there with the aliens laying on side of it. I saw the video. He sent it around the world to 4 countries and says if he dies, that video gets shown. They keep him in the nut house. He's supposed to go to trial since 1996. They won't let him go to trial. All right.
But just to keep it back to the Roswell thing, because I think just your viewers and stuff
this
that
just happened. This happened in 96.
Yeah, but whatever. But the idea is, look, even what you're saying is that number one, that from your perspective, that number one, we shot at alien spacecraft. Well, nobody likes being shot at.
Right.
Okay, not aliens as well. So they didn't fire the first round. If according to you, I mean, as far as we fired at them. So if they're out to get us, why we fired at them simply because we were firing at that time. There's a lot of evidence that we were firing at anything that invaded our airspace.
The Greys are dying, and that's why they're breeding with the human race. The reptilians have.
There's no evidence that aliens are breeding with the human race.
Of course they are.
Why?
Listen to my show on Tuesday. Listen to it.
Well, I'm just kind of, like I said, I'm a clearing expert, and I've worked with aliens in my business. I haven't really heard any of these wild stories before from any aliens I've talked to. It really just sounds to me like a lot of speculation. I'm not saying that if you take the amount of different kinds of aliens that are out there doing different kinds of things, some of them are going to be here for nefarious purposes, Jeffrey, and many of them will be here for reasons of their own.
If there's good aliens out there helping good people, Why didn't they help Jesus? Why didn't they help the native people? Wait, the native people claim they're working with the star beings. The star beings are the Greys. There was 50 million native people here 400 years ago. Now there's 1 million left. The truth is out there. The numbers are there. When you say they helped us, they didn't help us do anything. All right. When they try to help us, they're trying to save the ocean from the fault lines cracking right now. That's why they're in Hawaii, just so you know. They need the planet.
Well,
They
that
don't need the
doesn't mean that
people on
they're
it.
evil. I
No,
mean,
they
like
got
I
their own
said, you know,
agenda.
that I did
If
bring
they-
up earlier that I thought that they might be here for their own reasons
If they
and
ate,
to, you know,
they ate your family,
ecological,
if they
helping the
ate your
planet
family,
along for their own
wait,
reasons.
Jeffrey, if they ate your family, would you say they're good people?
If what?
If they ate your family, would you say they're good people? I hope not.
No,
Look,
I
I
just
deal
had
with people.
the first thing that popped in my mind was a joke and saying which one of my family members. But no,
Yeah,
the
right.
fact
That's
is
a
that
joke, right. What
no,
if they ate
absolutely
all of
not.
them?
If they're eating my family, no, I love my family. But the
But if
idea is
somebody else's family's okay.
that
Like I
I don't
said,
know anybody who's been eaten by aliens.
read Phil Snyder's story. He was alive. He was
And why
on
haven't they
the
eaten me?
he lets
I
you for
talk to
6 months.
aliens.
Yeah,
So
he lets
I
you for
get
6
taught by
months before he
aliens
was
and they teach
killed.
me how to clear people. Why aren't they eating me? I talk
What do you
about
want
being
to
close to
do?
aliens.
They can't touch spiritual people, Jeffrey.
I
I'll
don't
tell you
know
that.
about that. I
I'm
just
telling
think
you, they
that it all
can't.
depends on what kind of aliens you're
They
talking
can't.
about. Like I
I did
said, that you have
exorcisms.
bad people,
I
you have
did my
good people, you
exorcisms in
have
my
bad
life.
aliens, you have good aliens. Some of
I have
them
a
might
bad.
be carnivorous and might be, you know, actually attacking people, and
Well,
people,
when you
some
get a
people might
picture, Jeffrey, when
have
you get a
negative
picture of a good
experiences with
alien,
them.
show it to me. Show me one
What?
good alien. Show me a picture of a good alien.
Oh, I tell you that if I could take a picture of an alien,
Why
I
can't
wouldn't
you?
show it to you.
Well, show it to the world. That's who you have to
No,
show it to.
no, because then they would simply come after me.
Who, the aliens or the good
No,
people?
the aliens would not come after me. They know where I live. The government. I mean, the people would be knocking on my door, show me the picture. They wouldn't believe it anyway. Most
Well,
people don't
like
believe
I
anything
said,
they see in front of their
John
own
Ford had
eyes.
a John
And
Ford had
so
a
why would they
video.
believe a picture I have of Bigfoot or a picture of an alien or something like that, or me standing
Well,
next and doing a selfie of a
well, guess
craft?
what? Sergeant,
And
like
also it put, you know, like I said, that I wouldn't release that even if I had that kind of picture. Nor would I ask the
you're like
aliens
all
to
the
take
good
that
people.
kind of
Let's
picture.
not tell anybody the truth. Let's keep them in the darkness. Let them think the world's going to become better. Let's tell everybody everything's
That's
getting
up
better.
to us. We can fix our
No, it
own
ain't up to.
planet.
We're controlled
We're
by
the ones
entities.
destroying our own planet, Tommy.
Yeah,
It's not
and
the
who's
aliens that
controlling
are
that entity?
destroying our planet. We're
Who
polluting
takes
the
who
atmosphere,
takes an
not the
8-year-old?
aliens.
Who takes an 8-year-old, puts a gun in their hand, and shoots their brother? Who's doing that?
The
They're
8-year-old.
controlled. They're being controlled.
Not always.
Not always.
Now, I had mentioned earlier that sometimes spirits try to force their will on people, including children, teenagers, and adults. It does happen. It's not the norm, but it does happen. But it's certainly not in every case. I don't want to give the people, the viewers out there, the perception that every crime is there's a spirit behind it. Not true. A lot of people are mixed up in the head. They're angry. They're on drugs. They're homicidal to start with. They're psychopathic. They're quite capable of doing lots of damage, and they don't need any help. There's a lot of angry children out there that have access to guns, and they shouldn't have access to guns. Not really crazy about a lot of violent video games out there as well that were not around when I was growing up back in the 1960s. So there's a lot of things going on, but I wouldn't want to blame it all on spirits and aliens. We're pretty much capable of destroying our own planet and each other as well. My only point with some of the alien stuff is that I think there are a lot of races out there. It's a huge universe on a physical level.
Yeah, well,
and they're not all bad. And like
Jeffrey,
I said,
if that was true,
where's the big attack? Where's the big attack coming from? I don't see any ships hovering over New York City. I've seen these movies and they're a lot of fun to watch, but I don't see any cities being bombed by aliens.
Do you know anything about Egyptian?
Some, you know.
Okay, you know what? Anything about their belief on reincarnation?
Yes, I believe in reincarnation, and I actually have memories of such things.
They didn't know how or why or what to do. Aliens taught them to do ridiculous things to the body to reincarnate, and it has nothing to do with the truth. I reincarnated over 3,000 times. All right. And you usually do since the time you come down into this realm. All right. When I was in Atlantis, it was the only time planet Earth was in peace. 2 alien races came and destroyed Atlantis. I was there. All right. Carrie Cassidy, I did a show with her about that. All right. There's people that are aware what really happened. All right. And it's like, okay, let's forget that and let's just believe there's good aliens. Good aliens can't go against bad people. You fill a stadium
Well,
with
the
10.
concept of Atlantis and Lemuria were essentially advanced civilizations.
Yeah, they destroyed every race that was here, didn't they?
Well, we don't know that. We
Yes,
just
we
know
do.
that there,
They
you know,
just
we're
found
looking into the
160
concept that there may have
skeletons.
been advanced
They just found-
civilizations that were on the Earth a long time ago. The Earth
Some
is
months ago, they just found
billions of years
160
old.
skeletons
So,
with
and they may have
exposed-
come from another planet as well. That's very possible. I don't know. We don't have any proof
Well, why
either
don't
way.
you find out that? Do you know how to leave your body?
Yes,
Well, why don't you
I
go
do
there
know
and
how to
find out?
astral travel. I do that in my
Why
work.
don't you travel and see the truth? See where they come from. See how they live. You talk about
See
working
how
with
who
light.
lives.
The aliens that you work with.
I do that, and I find a lot of peaceful planets out there.
Oh,
I don't think
good.
that there's so
And
much.
you choose to stay on this planet?
Yes.
Well, that's your choice. Again,
No,
this
it's
is
not.
hell.
I'm pretty physical. The only way to get off this planet is eventually someday when I die, or the aliens
leave your
pick me up
body.
and drive me somewhere else. But
You-
I'm going to
you
make
can-
sure I bring some music along.
You can leave your
'Cause
body
I
anytime
need to
you
bring
want.
some tunes along for something like that. And
Well, you can leave your body
besides,
anytime you want.
alien planets very often have different compositions of their atmosphere, different
Right,
pressure systems, and the human body would not survive on a lot of these other
I
planets.
understand that. I know that. The tall whites wanted to take the U.S. government to a planet and said it's just like Earth. The United States government said, no, we'll get there by ourselves. That's how it went down. Area 54 is where they live, and it's next to Area 52. And then you got Area 51, 52, 53, and 54. And the worst race is Area 54. So when you talk about like you know things and you don't know things, but don't say nobody knows and we don't know, and when there's no proof. There's
Well, I'm
proof
just
there.
looking for something more than an opinion.
Well, do you want to go see an alien?
I see aliens. They taught me much in my work.
You want to see an alien walking from a ship? I did. I was with my friends.
It's all great.
Well, see, it's not a matter of proving the world that one person's right. Jesus had a truth that he was trying to bring out, but nobody was willing to accept it. All right.
Well, I'm not really interested so much in what one person says, that I think eventually I don't know if our government will release information or not. They might. They've released some.
They didn't release anything. They released a Tic Tac.
Well, they released some. They show a little more, little bits and pieces of things we don't understand, like things flying around that are, traveling at speeds we could never
watch the alien interrogation. It's online. Watch it for real.
Alien interrogation?
Yeah, it's online.
So we're talking about why would they want to interrogate an alien?
Because the alien said one person's going to destroy the planet, and they wanted him to tell them what person it was. All right. He said how we were created, how the earth was created. He went into a lot of things, but they were shocking him the whole time. All right.
Well, that's not a good way to get information out of an alien.
They were torturing him.
Well, we all know that torturing people tend to tell you anything you want to hear.
You could torture people to make them tell the truth. I can do
not necessarily. Very often they tell lies. They'll say anything to get people to stop torturing them.
You know anything about pain? Were you ever in extreme pain by somebody?
Sure.
Okay, and they didn't make you talk?
That wasn't their goal.
Oh, well, see, what I'm saying is if their goal is to make you say something that's true, not fake, well, I don't want you to say you're Superman because I know you're not. Tell me where you came from. Well, I can't tell you where I'm from. All right. But I know all those kind of things. I mean, they outlawed waterboarding because it made people talk. They don't.
Well, it also makes them lie.
Truth serum, they don't use it in court because it makes a person tell the truth.
Actually, it's been shown
there's 5 different kinds of truth serum.
Torture doesn't always work at all.
See,
people tell you anything to make them stop from doing bad things to your body. They'll tell you anything you want to hear. And so, we're talking about one person talking about torturing aliens and getting information about how the earth was formed and what this is all about and all the rest of it. I say, just kind of wait a little bit on all of that
You think
and
that's
go
going to
for
come
the
out?
small
You
stuff
think the
first,
good
and
aliens are going
maybe
to come here and save us? Do you really believe that?
what?
The good aliens are going to come here and save us?
I don't know. I don't know. I would hope so. I mean, there's a part of me that says, that it's increasingly. I've been very disappointed in. I thought when I was growing up in the 1960s and 70s that people would recognize the people in power, the people who are really in power and doing the real polluting, would create alternative energy sources, if not to save us, to save themselves and their families. Turns out that maybe we're not capable of that. I don't know. I would like to think that we can stop this, but it also seems that we are not all of us here. I'm not pointing the finger at people watching this. I'm saying that it seems like the people who are in power are self-destructive and also homicidal. Not all of them, but too many of them. People who are in charge of our energy
Well,
consumption, of our energy
all right.
sources, have
Well,
no interest in
um,
solar anything or whatever
yeah. Well, I'm
alternative
really
ways
sorry
of
that.
operating a car or
Okay, Jeffrey.
a flying craft, but
All
are
right.
only interested in short-term gain like money.
I'm really sorry that it got this so far out of hand. Uh, but it just shows you how far and you and me are really are. Uh, Jesus came to save the world, or well, that's what people believe, and he couldn't. All right, no alien race can either, and they're not going to. There's no reason for them to do it. But I'm glad you came on. I'm glad you stuck it out. But I'm sorry that it's this way because I know what I know. I met people. I dealt with things. I dealt with these things for real myself in physical reality, not make believe land like most people do. The new word in the UFO world is experiences. They all claim that they get on ships and go places and have fun and all this. I said, tell me what you ate. Tell me one thing that was important that happened on that trip, other than they show you a beautiful city, show you a beautiful this. Corey Good came out with videos that the aliens put in his mind to see, and he believes it all. And he said he saw the end of the world in 2 years. He's going to be wrong. All the psychics that come out are always wrong. Sean David Morton prophesied 9/11 1 year before it happened, but he was 100% right. Every detail he predicted. All right, not too many psychics. He was rated 86% accurate as far as being a psychic. Uh, all the people, the one on TV and all those other people aren't that gifted because they can't tell anything really important to the world because they can't change history in general. I mean,
Tommy, all I can really say is that, we've talked about this before and privately, and here's what I could say to you, at the end of our show here is that I know you have a really negative feeling about and negative perspective about aliens, but I only hope, my wish would be that maybe someday you meet some really nice ones, and maybe that would change your perspective and change your
it
mind.
will never change my perspective because this is hell. Satan controls the energy on this planet.
I don't think so.
Well, that's your
I think the
choice.
power of good is far more powerful than
90% of the
evil,
planet.
or I
90,
wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
oh, really? How many people are you going to touch before you die? 90% of the people on this planet are starving, homeless, and dying, and sexual abuse and sold. You're helping what? 1%? 5%? That's going to change the world?
Any percent
Any percent? Oh,
is
people
is
believe that.
something to
It doesn't
me,
change.
and the spirits that I
That's
work
like saying,
for. Any percent will help, and
put a
maybe
holy
it
roller
will
out in the
start a chain
street.
reaction. Not just me, but others that are doing
Yeah,
good
all the
work
claim that they're
around the
doing good
world will
work,
help
changing
and
people,
change
helping
things.
people.
And
Yeah.
I know I can't change the whole world. I'm not even trying to
Well,
change the whole
the
world.
government
I'm
can't
just
change
trying to do
it.
my part. That's all I've
Okay.
ever done.
It's been a pleasure. I'm sorry, but till next time, have a safe journey back to your bed to sleep. I'm sorry it's late where you are, but it's getting late here little by little, but it's still only 7 o'clock here. I know it's a lot later for you, but I'm sorry it went this way. But I don't know if you want to copy this show again or not. Probably not. But it was a pleasure anyway. I don't mind debating anybody on this planet about the truth. And that's what I say. My motto is truth only. I don't let people put lies on my show that I know are lies. And that's the way I have lived. That's why I don't have millions of people on my show. And I don't care about it because
But you want to entertain different perspectives, though. I'm
don't
saying entertain,
perspective.
at least listen,
I
as
know you
opposed
want
to.
people. No, I know you do that. That's why I brought you on. You help some people you work with. Yeah. But you said like a big percentage of them aren't even real demonized. I worked with him. I did exorcisms with people that had demons in them. I saw flames coming out of them and all kinds of things.
I just don't think that demons are the most common negative spirit
Well,
out there. I think the most common negative spirit are people that have passed on and continue to do
well, they
negative
have very
things.
little
That's
power.
our real problem.
Their
And our
power is
biggest
weak.
problem is
Well,
how we treat each other.
Well, their power
That's
is
our
very
biggest
weak.
problem, is our living
Souls that are
people, how we treat each other, not
souls,
spirits, how they
souls
treat
that are
us.
stuck in this world don't have much power.
We have a
All the
lot of
spirits,
power. It's
no,
just how
they don't.
we
They
use it or
don't.
choose not to use it.
No, they don't have power. That's why they didn't go to the next realm. They came back here. They're stuck here. They can't go to a higher world. Their vibration's too low. All right.
Or they
So
just
look,
don't want to.
well, we don't need to go any further, but enjoy your night. It was a pleasure. I'm glad you came. Till next time.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, people. I know you think I got a little rowdy, which is my thing. When people talk about things and they don't know, and like most people say, well, nobody knows that. Nobody knows why they're here. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows this. Nobody knows. The government knows everything about them. Is it the government doesn't know? They're working with 6 races. Putin said he's working with 20 races. When I worked with TJ Morris, her husband said they work with 27 races. The one main speaker, Bob Dean, in the UFO world died. He said he worked with 27 races. All right. So there's a lot of races here. But do they work with people in general to do anything important? No, they never did. People, I don't know who stuck around. If anybody's out there, I'm glad you're still here. But I put a challenge to every speaker out there, including people claiming to create Disclosure Project, Stephen Greer, one of the biggest liars on the planet. All right. These people are going to try to program people to believe things. And you don't need to believe anything other than what's inside your heart. And if it relates to God, that's all that matters. If it relates to popcorn, baseball, football, forget it. The truth is, we're here for one reason, to figure out what we are as soul. And that soul doesn't have to live here. Soul's in this little body, squished in this body that does nothing. In a lifetime, what do? Have children, buy a house, buy a car, buy a boat. Make a new invention of what? A better toy to play with. Drugs? Let's forget drugs altogether. They don't make drugs to cure and heal people. One drug, and my partner had to take it. Hepatitis C. It's $70,000 for 70 pills, but it works. One of the few things they do try to heal, and they did. But again, leprosy, they had the cure for leprosy. They never brought it to the colony because it costs too much money. So people, I'm not here to be an evil being, which people think I am, which I don't care what they feel. I'm only putting the truth there. If you're wide enough and open your space to listen, you might understand the truth. And the truth is there's no good aliens. And I also believe there's no good men on this planet. Oh, really? Am I a good man? I'll be spiritual when I leave. You can't be spiritual in hell. Look at what happens here. Crime, murder, rape, all those things don't exist in the higher realms. They don't. All right. And you're no longer male or female. So you can forget that too. So sex is not a part of the picture either. Creating energy and sending it is one thing, but all those other things change. I challenge everybody in the UFO world out there. Eugene, greetings. Did you listen to this? If you listen to the whole show, your mind might get blown. But yeah, we got into a battle. And he's my friend. I was friends with him for years. I never thought it would go this far. But when he starts saying nobody knows and there's all good aliens, no, they're not. They're not helping us. They might good in their own agenda, whatever their agenda is, making the planet radioactive. But people, I'm just glad you made it. I just had to separate the show from my guest. He claimed a lot. He said a lot, which is, he works with beings and ghosts and aliens, and he says spirits of people are the most dangerous to this world. Those spirits don't have much energy. If you let them into yourself, it's different. If you let an army in your house, guess what? You're in trouble. Keep your doors locked, keep weapons around it. You don't let them in. But this show is recorded. You can watch the show. It's always online. It'll be online as of probably a little bit later. But it started off peaceful and nice. But when people say how beautiful this world is, I look at the dark side, the real side, not the light. Oh, it's beautiful. The ocean's beautiful. I'm in Hawaii. The government put 6 boxes along the shoreline so the dolphins can't come in. The HARP system boat comes in here every 6 months. And guess what? The Coast Guard of Hawaii is watching a Russian ship go around it right now. Right now. It should be on your news if you pull it up. Hawaiian Coast Guard chasing, following a Russian ship. You know, that's terms for a war. And Russia just said if anybody nukes, gives any more weapons to their battlefield, they will cause a major war. So we're very close to that. George Washington was a psychic. Did you know that? All right. He claimed that we will be going into World War III. He said World War I, World War II, and World War III. He was visited by 7 angels when he did his prophecy. I worked in the house where he created his battlefield in New York City. All right. He was also good at remote viewing. All right. So there's a lot of things that people might not want to hear or understand. He looked over the battlefield, saw where his army was. That's how he won. I mean, when you use psychic, you slaughter this world. And I never said it to Jeffrey, but psychic abilities cannot be used wisely on this planet now. If a psychic could predict 1 minute into the future, they could destroy reality. All right. Oh, you still here? Okay. But see, people, I was a high priest when I was 16. I went against the high priest of the mob in Jersey. I was dealing with bad energy every which way. But you know what? I only had one thing to protect me. It's a 3-letter word. They didn't have it. So, you know, like I asked Jeffrey where his protection comes from and things like that. People on this planet are afraid to use God. All these priests, when they do exorcisms, they say in the name of Jesus Christ. They don't even know Jesus. How could you use his name? Then when people say, I'm in Christ consciousness. Really? Did you know Jesus? Did you know what he was teaching? Of course not. And you're in his consciousness of what? He married Mary Magdalene, had a daughter. Never got to see his daughter. He was killed before. Mary Magdalene had Jesus's abilities. She left. She went to France. Right now, her skull is in a temple in Europe. It's considered the most spiritual artifact on the planet right now. People, there's facts out there. People who are religion's this, religion's that. No man screwed up religion. Moses screwed up his own religion. Comes off the mountain with 10 commandments and has 3,000 people killed. Then he takes all his people and I'm going to bring you to the promised land. They all died before they got there. All the children that got there had to kill the people that were there. That's a spiritual truth of a religion. It's not spiritual. People, you know, I've been doing my shows for a long time. I've been in the UFO world since I was 6 years old. And right now, it's sad because the government can't say a word. And we got all these so-called whistleblowers saying, oh, yeah, I saw an alien. Well, why don't you say it when you saw it? Why is it always like 30, 40 years later? Oh, they might kill me. Well, they do. And Jeffrey didn't want to admit about MJ-12. It's MJ-32 now, people. People, you want the truth? Come to my show, listen to it, ask questions that you want me to answer. I know everyone will see what Jeffrey has to say. He does good work. He helps people that are in this twisted state of mind. How about helping people that are in a good state of mind get better? Stop supporting the government. Stop supporting the chemical field, the drug addicts. I mean, the drug companies, not the addicts, sorry. And the effects of the problems that we create. Tesla created 50 deadly weapons, the HARP system being the most deadliest one. He created an earthquake machine in 1990. Oh, sorry, 1900. Sorry about that date. All right. So he was way ahead because he worked with aliens. Yeah, they're going to tell another story. She just came out and said that the aliens told her everything. How many? 60 years later, now she's going to say the aliens told her this, that, and the other thing. You know, aliens like to program people. Everybody that's in the UFO world that claim to be an experiencer are programmed. People like Corey Good. He said they put a video in his mind. That's called programming. The government can do it. I'm not saying they can't. Their technology was given to us a long time ago. But if you pull up Billy Meyer's ships, the circular ships that he dealt with in 1950, to see the ships that they're driving now, there's no connection. And one of their ships was sighted in California last year, right over the ocean on the beach shoreline. But again, it's not aliens driving it. And if you could see it moving slow, it's usually not a UFO. They don't drive slowly around and, hey, check that city out. They got lights out. Oh, look at the trees. Oh, look at. They're not like that. They don't need to be. I was with Sergeant 18 before he changed his name. We shot a ship going into the Hudson River, taking water and going back up into space with it. From 45 miles away, we were on top of a mountain, and we're shooting at the Empire State Building, and we see this giant ship go right in back of the Empire State Building, which was as big as the Empire State Building, went sideways. But he changed his name to Lord Sargell, people. And he's not public. He took everything we ever did down from every site he could possibly do it. All right. Everything we put up, every show that we did, even the one on Strange Universe came down, and it was up since 96, sorry. And it was taken down last year when Sargell and me had a fight. And then he changed his name to Lord Sargell. His last prophecy, people, 1934. Don't mind me, I'm a little bit hyper. 2034. Jesus comes down and kills Lucifer, his prophecy. Well, when I was with him for 6 years, he said he was going to bring aliens to the White House every day, every time we went out. Well, we'll be bringing the aliens to the White House soon. He said that all the time. He was a psychic. He predicted a couple things here and there. But again, the truth is what matters to me. Is it going to help mankind? Bonnie and Betty Hill going to help us in any way? Oh, the aliens said they were going to make peanut butter out of us. Whatever she says is going to be useless for us. The Aztecs, the Mayans, the Egyptians had no truth of God, had no truth of reincarnation, had no truth. They followed deities in the beginning, and then they went to aliens. What do they know? If you go back, I work with deities, and if you go back as far as in time as you want, they were basically sexual. All the things they taught, Kama Sutra, and everything was sex. Pull up Hinduism and everything. It's all about sex. The deities had sex with the people. I mean, the deity Shiva cut his thing off because he was getting even with the other deity because of what he did to his daughter. And he destroyed a whole city. I mean, the stories are crazy. But there was never a good story except the story of the Garden of Eden. But nobody knows what really happened there. It wasn't the story that's in the Bible. Because the person talking in the Bible was not God. Read it. If you don't believe in the Bible, which I don't, there's truth in there, but a lot of lies. If you read Adam and Eve's story 3 times, you'll see all the lies in it. What God says, what God does, what happens. It's incredible that people believe that. But people, if you're a Christian, read Revelations, written by John. John wrote the things that cannot be forgiven. Why would he do that? How many years ago? Because people think they could go to the priest, minister, ask for forgiveness, or pray and get forgiveness. Buddha was right about karma. So was John Lennon. That's a horrible word, but it's what we all have, and we got to deal with it. And it's not about having more relationships, having more cars, anything, more money. When you die, you don't take any of that with you anyway. You don't need it. Soul doesn't need anything here, including the food that we eat. People, I hope you got something out of this. I do this out of my heart because I want to put the truth out there until I die. I got a new book. I need to get it edited. I got to come up with money because the editor said she really wants to do it, really feels it has to get out there. She read part of it, but she said she wants $1,000. But the title is For Women Only. It's about men, sex, rape, and abuse. The truth at every level. How to defend themselves, how to protect themselves, how to make sure it doesn't happen, how to live after, and all those other words. I was through multiple abuse and different things in my life. I'm not talking from some out-of-the-hat story. I was told to do this book a long time ago, but I never could face it. Never wanted to. But when I see every story on the news, this person's raped, this person gets away with it. Bill Cosby had 50 women coming against him, gets away with it, goes to jail for a little bit, gets back out. All these people. I don't know if you heard about, I don't want to get into that. That's a totally different field. UFOs are real, aliens are real, and they're not really good. All right, and they're not here to help us. If they were, we would be changing. We changed after Atlantis was destroyed, not for the better. We had gladiators all through history. Man loves to see people die, killed, and tortured. I mean, Halloween and movies like that, why do people go see them? It's in their blood, and it always has been. And not to get prejudiced, the white race, all the European races, were mainly the ones that created all the wars, in general. Going back as far as you want. Look what they did to the Native people. Look what they did. I mean, go the Jewish people. Look at the tribes. Even the what do you call it? The Quakers. They killed all these people up, and actually, of course, the witches. But we want our truth. People, men in general, they want their egotistical truth to be real, and they make it real. I'm trying to get women right now to change the court system. All the laws on the books, you would not believe them. They shouldn't be there. And women need to change them. All right, people. I hope you got something again. My email is hawksblood1@aol.com. Any questions? If you want to talk personally, Skype me, hawksblood11. I'd rather talk. Look, I get me when I have to. I'm not a love and light person. I don't believe everything's love. Nothing's love. Look at how many 60% of relationships die within 5 to 10 years. And then relationships 20 years die. 25 years, they die. I mean, separate. Love's supposed to grow. If you touch love in any way, it never leaves and it never dies. But you would only know that if you understand God. So people, peace, love, compassion, truth, whatever you need in your life, don't stop until you get it. Don't listen to the lies. Don't listen to the storytellers. I'm not a storyteller. I put my life on the line. I'm only responsible back to God, period. Nobody else. The government can come and shoot me right now. It doesn't matter. I know where I'm going. I know what I did, and I know what's going to happen. So they can't change that. The only thing they can change is the time that I'm stuck here. But I had the permission to leave already. And I said I want to write one more book. So people, don't give up. Don't follow dreams that aren't real. But when I mean real, are they really important to you as a soul? Because you're only going to be here 125 years, and you're going to leave. But Trump, Musk, Gates, all those people want to live forever, don't they? Why? When you go past 125, you're going to see your children dying and all your family and everybody else dying. Well, we're going to get them all on the medicine. That's going to cost, what, $100,000? The one pill right now is $70,000. People, are you ready for AI? And that's not an alien. But guess what, people? I didn't even get into this with him. And he probably should know. AI, artificial intelligence, and they proved it, was created by an alien race a long time ago. You might not believe it yet. In time, mankind will see it, especially when, all these new iRobot and all those kind of movies come out and stuff. Once they start fixing themselves, what do they need us for? A robot will work 7 days a week, 24 hours, day and night. Will a man do that for nothing? The world's going to be so different. And every time we go, oh, we got a car that drives itself, a plane that drives itself, a boat that drives itself. What do they need you for? To clean up the mess? To clean the toilet bowls? Well, we could get a robot to do that too now. But again, people, the world's changing. It's not changing for the better. And the truth is, it's something called MJ12, which is the one that's responsible for it, became MK32, which now the word is, and this was accepted by 193 countries. UN Agenda 21-30. Pull it up. Check it out. We're in stage 4. We don't have that many years to go before it hits the climax. Revelation talks about the same thing. People, we get the truth, but we mold it into what we want it to mean. And it's never the truth of what it really is. People say, well, everybody has a different truth. No, everybody has a level of truth that they're willing to accept. So the highest truth is God exists and you are responsible to it. Nothing else matters. But if you think God doesn't exist and you are God and everything else, nothing matters. You can do whatever you want. And that's where we are. Universal consciousness, really? Well, how about alien consciousness? I'll come with all the alien consciousness. Really? We're in a sick world, people. Look around. Look what's happening. Well, I hope I bored you enough or got you angry in yourself to think a little. That's all you need to do. Think about what you programmed to believe, learn, and experience in life. Make money. What else? Buy things. What else? Have sex. What else? Have drugs. What else? Watch sports. And then the last thing that we're into now is cheap thrills. Getting close to death without dying. All right. You heard it here first. Sorry it went this way. I never thought it would. I thought it was going to be a great show in his viewpoint. But, when people talk about good, I wish there was good on this planet more than anybody else. I saw what we went through in thousands of years. We never experienced it. Love did not exist 2,000 years ago. Women were never love objects. They were sex objects. Period. As far back as you want to go, except Atlantis. You don't have to blame me, but that's the truth. If you ever get into reading your past lives and go back further and further, if you can ever, it'd be incredible. You would be so enlightened to where you are and what's happening. But till next time, thank you, Eugene. Thank you, everybody else, Tinfoil, and everybody else that's here. It was a pleasure. I don't know if you enjoyed it. I know people get mad when I get mad. Well, sorry, the truth hurts. It always does. If you ever hear the truth and it's happy, let me know. I just got a new car. And yeah, I'll be happy as long as nothing happens to the car or nothing. But car is karma. So I guess my karma is good right at this moment. I always said, you have a car, you have an accident, have a flat tire, whatever happens, you're paying karma. And that's when John Lennon wrote a song, Instant Karma is going to get you. And it does. All right, everybody. I'm going on and on. But till next time, people, Tommy Hawksblood here, calling from the Big Island. And there's lots of UFO stuff going on daily here. And a mothership came over the island about 6 months ago. All right, people.